All right, a lot to cover in the watch list video for tomorrow, which I think, let me get this right, will be Thursday, January 7th. So pause the video if you want to read that little explanation there, which basically, in short, says I'm looking for things that could give me a move tomorrow. Okay, these charts aren't, I'm not thinking any longer term than tomorrow because I go to cash before the close every day. So I never have overnight exposure. So keep that in mind. SPY's looking fairly ugly here. I don't get into too much detail talking about the overall market because I generally don't try to predict where it's going. I just try to react to it. But overall, chart's not that pretty. We'll see if it holds 198 tomorrow. It's sort of an important level. All right, so the watch list. Let's just start with FIT. I like this as a potential bounce play. It's super beaten up. I mean, just yesterday this was 30.96, and it's all the way down to a low of today of 22.64. Anytime you get a massive sell-off, at some point when you get this kind of a sell-off, shorts start to chase and pile in at any price as it's falling, and that can be a recipe or an ingredient of a recipe for a nice snapback short covering bounce. So that's all. Again, I'm a trader, so that's all I'm looking for in FIT. KTOV, this is a lower price stock, obviously a relatively new issue. You can tell there's not a lot of chart history, but it had a nice pop on Tuesday and then kind of a quiet inside day and a weak market. So maybe sometimes the third day it goes again. So don't love it, but I want to watch it. MXIM, 5 days in a row down to an area that used to be resistance here, and the 200 day. So that's a good potential bounce, especially if the market bounces. I like MXIM for a bounce. I always try to populate my watch list with recent crazy movers because those can give you big percentage moves in a very short period of time. LEI meets those parameters since it ran from 2 to over 1050 4 days ago, right? And then had a couple nice intraday bounces. Now, 2 good down days. I really love this one for a potential bounce tomorrow or the next day. I only take these with a proper intraday setup, but that one's got a lot of potential. GSI, also a really big move here from below 50 cents to almost $5. You know, I'd like to see this come in another day, but I'm going to start watching it tomorrow for a potential bounce. DDD had a really nice bounce I guess a bounce from its chart lows 2 days ago. But I mean, if you hover over this from 846 to 1015, that's a pretty nice move. And now you've got 2 days lower on declining volume. That's a pretty good setup for a possible bounce tomorrow. Okay, ATNM is another low-priced stock, fairly low float that had a really nice move, and now two pretty good days lower. That goes on bounce watch. Netflix, you can see I'll trade almost any price range. Netflix, again, it feels extended in the short term, but this one needs to be on watch for the next week or so. Had really good news today. I'll show you real quick a little trading lesson here. If you see something just ripping, okay? Say you're day trading, or you left the room, or you just didn't see this. Your volume scanners, nobody in the chat room that you trade in or whatever, nobody picked this up, and you see it when it looks like this, and you say, "Wow, 500,000 shares. What do I do?" And then 5 minutes later, it's still climbing. In the past, years ago, I would have said to myself, "Well, screw it. I missed Netflix, right?" But I'm trying to get more people on board with and switch my own mindset around and say, you know what, you didn't miss it. Let's look for the first pullback. All right. So then it chops around, and you see this 20 period moving average. I use the EMA on 5-minute candles. When this starts to head down, I'm looking for a flush below 13, and I'm looking where the 20 period moving average is. So I went ahead and made an idea in the room, put out an idea in the room for a buy in the 1260s. I figured that's about where they'll meet. Worst case stop 40 cents below, because you got to give $113 stock some wiggle room. All right, so it goes down. I got filled at 1262. It goes down to 1239, so it holds the stop, and then look at this, rips through the high of the day. So just remember that if you miss the original really good move, and if it's got good news, don't chase it. I mean, here's what happened to some people, right? Some people probably saw it and said, okay, well, look, it's holding up really well. It's coming back on this next candle. If it gets back near the high of the day, I'm going to take it for the next move. And look what happens. So some people jump in here. This hadn't had enough time to come in, right? Or at least consolidate. So some people take it here, and then look what happens. They're the ones And then maybe either they sell here or they think, okay, now it's going to go, and the next thing you know, it does this, and they're probably selling down here for a loss instead of being patient and being the buyer down here, right? And then you can get this really nice move. Having babbled about that, I'll show you this real quick. This is what happens when I'm bored in the evening. This is my little heat map I made for Netflix today and the overall market. If you scroll down a little bit, this was amusing to me today too. This is not stock related, but it's funny to me. That I literally did get that in a fortune cookie today. So of course, I had to take a shot at all the Bernie Sanders panhandlers out there. That was funny to me. So before I finish my watch list, I got a few more stocks. I did want to say, because I was babbling in chat today, which I tend to do sometimes. I'm pretty passionate about trading, and when I get on a topic that's interesting, I tend to jump on the mic and babble for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. And so one thing I was telling everybody today was, because I get emails from time to time, people that blew up their account, averaging down. There's actually websites out there that teach people, hey, if you're in something and it goes down farther, double down. And if it keeps going, double down, quadruple down, right? Which is a great thing to do if you don't want to trade much longer. All right, that is a recipe for disaster, the recipe for a trading death spiral. So what I told everybody today is, and I'm dating myself a little bit here because I alluded to the movie City Slickers, which if you're under 30, you're probably saying, what the hell is he talking about? But there's a scene in City Slickers where they're talking about their best day and their worst day. And I don't remember the characters' names, but one of Billy Crystal's friends talks about the best day in his life was when he stood up to, I don't remember if it was, I think it was his father, who had been cheating on his mom and so on. He stood up to him and basically told him, get the heck out of the house. We don't need you anymore. We don't love you. And that was his best day because I guess he was proud of himself for finally standing up. And he took care of his wife and siblings for the rest of their lives. So that was his best day. And they said, well, what was your worst day? And he says, same day. And there's actually a lesson there. If you've fallen into a trading death spiral, and believe me, I get the emails, I can't help but think of City Slickers. Find a way in your mind to take that worst day. You ever have a day where you think, oh my God, I can't believe I did that again, and I probably shouldn't be trading, and maybe I'll never tell my spouse about what I just did. Everybody who's traded any length of time knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you've had one of those days where you just took a huge chunk out of your trading account, okay, I contend that you should find a way to turn that around in your mind and say, you know what, I'm going to make this the worst trading day of my life. I'm going to make this the best trading day of my life. And as strange as that sounds, it's possible, okay? You can take that day and say to yourself, okay, whatever I have left in my account, that's my new baseline. Putting everything behind me, I'm going to start trading as a professional trader. I'm no longer going to gamble. I'm never going to average down. And you all know the rules, right? So you can take that worst day and say, technically, that's the best day of my trading career because it's the day that forced me to actually become a professional trader, actually force myself to treat this like a business and not a casino. And so in that way, it can be your best day. Yes, you're starting over, okay? But you're starting over the right way, okay? So turn it around, man. Make that day the best day of your trading career. It is possible. It's all about, positive thinking, and just you have to forget what you did and start fresh with your new balance, and then resolve to build that balance a little at a time every day like you're supposed to, all right? Because you know what? You can hear stories from traders about trading death spirals, and that's great, and it sounds scary, and you might be able to say to yourself, okay, I get it, I never want to do that, but you'll never learn. You won't learn from those stories. The only teacher is pain. I doubt that there's any consistently profitable professional trader who supports himself or his family or herself or her family from trading. I doubt there's even one that's doing that now that hasn't had at least one trading death spiral, because it's part of the process. It's the best. Pain is the best teacher. There's no question. Pain is the best teacher. So, anyway, I've babbled long enough about that. I do have a few more stocks to show you. Smith & Wesson, SWHC. Again, I think this needs to come in some more. But gun sales are through the roof, and with the president crying on TV, I suspect that's even going to help. So maybe one more down day, and I think we pop again big, which, by the way, I have a theory that they sat around in the White House as a focus group and said, it might help if could you whip up some tears? Yeah, I can do that. George Bush did it after 9/11, and people really found him to be human. So can you do that? And yeah, I can try to be human. That's just my theory. I don't know if that happened, but Smith & Wesson and RGR, both, again, especially if they were to gap down tomorrow, that might be enough. And then they might be worth a red to green, okay? So keep your eyes on those. I'd like to see them come in another day. Couple more, COOL. This thing, if you look at it, it traded a few days ago, traded 10,000 shares, 12,000 shares, 6,000 shares. So it almost doesn't trade. And then you get 7 million shares. Went all the way to 220 before settling at 163. And if you look on the chart, I'm not sure how far you have to go back to see this kind of volume. I'm scrolling way back here and I don't see it. So this is a good candidate. Again, this one might have to come in another day, and it might never, ever go back up again. I don't know, but with a proper intraday setup, we might get a nice percentage gain in that one. All right, so that's COOL. And then one last one, AMID. This one had a really nice move back here, pulled in, another nice move, took out these highs. If you take out today's candle, look like, okay, double top, it's rolling over. And on a weekday, this thing held up pretty well. So I don't know if tomorrow's the day or if it's ever going to happen, but switching to 15-minute candles, you sort of have a little cup and handle here. Back up over the 815 area. This one might just continue higher. All right. I'm trying to think if I have any favorites. I'm not really in love with this list, but a couple of them, DDD, FIT, are great bounce play setups. LEI, great bounce play setup. So keep your eyes on the recent high flyers. That's what I try to do. I'm done babbling. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.